Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. You're walking down a street in Brussels. One sign reads Rue des Églises, the other says Kerkstraat. Two languages. One city. No tension. Now, imagine a different place, northern Sri Lanka. Here, people who speak your language can't access education, jobs, or even basic government services. The same idea, diversity, handled in two completely different ways. Welcome to the stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka. One embraced its differences and built unity. The other ignored them and paid the price. So, what made the difference? Let's find out. Now let's zoom in on Belgium, a small European country, smaller than the Indian state of Haryana, but packed with cultural complexity. Here's how its population is divided. Around 59% of Belgians live in the Flemish region and speak Dutch. Another 40% reside in Wallonia, speaking French. And about 1% speak German, mostly near the eastern border. But things get really interesting in the capital, Brussels. Although Dutch speakers are the majority nationally, in Brussels they become the minority. 80% of people in Brussels speak French and only 20% speak Dutch. This mismatch, being dominant in the country but sidelined in the capital, sparked growing resentment during the 1950s and 60s. Dutch-speaking communities felt economically and politically excluded in their own capital. And so began a silent but serious ethnic tension within a democracy. Now let's fly southeast to Sri Lanka, an island nation just off the southern tip of India. With a population of around 2 crore, it's similar in size to Haryana, but beneath its surface lies a story of sharp divisions. Here's the ethnic composition. A vast 74% of the population are Sinhalese, mostly Buddhists, who speak the Sinhala language. About 18% are Tamils, and they're divided into two groups: Sri Lankan Tamils, native to the island. Indian Tamils, descendants of plantation workers brought during colonial times. Around 7% of the population are Christians, drawn from both Tamil and Sinhala communities. But here's the issue. After gaining independence in 1948, the Sinhalese majority began to shape national policies that excluded the Tamils. Despite being nearly 1/5 of the population, the Tamil community found itself ignored, underrepresented, and increasingly marginalized. And this imbalance laid the groundwork for one of South Asia's longest internal conflicts. Now, imagine living in a country where your language, your culture, and even your identity are simply ignored by law. That's exactly what began to happen in Sri Lanka after independence in 1948. Let's walk through a quick timeline. 1948, the country gains freedom. But soon, the Sinhalese majority starts crafting policies to cement its dominance. 1956, a crucial moment. The government passes the Sinhala Only Act, making Sinhala the sole official language. Tamil, spoken by nearly 1 in 5 citizens, is completely left out. Then came the preferential policies. Sinhala speakers were given first preference in government jobs, university admissions, political posts. And finally, the constitution was amended to protect and promote Buddhism, further alienating non-Buddhist communities. Now pause for a moment. What message does that send to the Tamil population? That their language doesn't matter. Their voices don't count. And their future? Not welcome. This wasn't just one bad law, it was a series of decisions that steadily pushed Tamils to the margins. So, what happens when people feel unheard for too long? In Sri Lanka, the repeated discrimination against Tamils reached a breaking point. By the 1980s, peaceful protests had given way to a stronger demand. Tamils began calling for a separate nation, a homeland of their own, a new state called Tamil Eelam in the northern and eastern parts of the country. This demand was not just about land. It was about identity, equality, and dignity. But instead of dialogue, the response was repression. And soon, the country was plunged into a full-scale civil war. The consequences were devastating. Thousands of people from both Tamil and Sinhala communities were killed. Families were torn apart. Millions lost their homes, jobs, and any sense of security. Refugee camps became the only shelter for many. The war lasted nearly 3 decades until it finally ended in 2009. But even today, the wounds, emotional, economic, and social, are far from healed. While Sri Lanka struggled with conflict, Belgium took a wiser route, a path built on dialogue, not dominance. Faced with deep divisions between Dutch-speaking, French-speaking, and German-speaking communities, Belgian leaders knew that unity couldn't be forced. It had to be negotiated. Between 1970 and 1993, they made 4 major amendments to their constitution, each one designed to give every community a real share in power. Here's what they did: equal representation. In the central government, Dutch and French-speaking ministers have equal numbers, regardless of national majority. Mutual consent laws. Some laws require approval from both language groups, so no one can impose their will alone. Regional autonomy. Flemish and Wallonia regions got their own governments, which are not subordinate to the center. Brussels Compromise. Even though French speakers are a majority in the capital, both communities share equal power in Brussels' government. So now, we step back and ask, what do Belgium and Sri Lanka really teach us? Belgium chose power sharing. It respected diversity, built trust, and ensured that no group felt left out. Result? Unity with dignity. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, followed majoritarianism. It silenced minority voices and imposed the will of the majority. The cost? Decades of civil war and lasting social scars. The lesson is simple but powerful. In a democracy, sharing power isn't weakness, it's the very foundation of strength and stability. As we move forward in this chapter, we'll explore why power sharing is not just desirable, but essential to a healthy democracy. Stay with us. To sum it all up, Belgium and Sri Lanka both had rich ethnic diversity. But they walked to very different paths. Belgium embraced power sharing through thoughtful constitutional reforms. It ensured representation, respected differences, and stayed united. Sri Lanka chose majoritarianism, ignoring its minorities. What followed was decades of unrest, war, and national trauma. The message is clear: in a diverse society, how power is shared can decide whether peace is built or broken. Understanding this sets the stage for our next discussion. Why is power sharing not just useful, but essential in a democracy? Let's explore that next.